Our goal is to bring candid views on AI in GxP. Bob has over 3 decades of experience that spans various roles in consulting and Big Pharma. He currently oversees digital quality and strategy at AstraZeneca. He's a globetrotter engaging with his colleagues throughout the world. Not only that, he constantly meets with inspectors from various health authorities in the US, EU, China, and many more.
The FDA wants it, but we're lagging behind. Boy, we're not lagging behind anymore. Everywhere you go, it's AI this, AI that. And it's great. I mean, the innovation is fantastic.
This is 100x more, 1000x more than what you have seen before, correct? I really believe in that, Bob. I mean, I think it's time to reimagining how the processes work with the new digital AI capabilities.
We're better off as an industry helping to lead than rather waiting for the regulators to tell us what to do, right? And have conversations with regulators and start building things and showing them, because we're all learning together, right? Otherwise, if you're waiting and waiting and waiting, you're not innovating.
Everyone, again, thanks for joining. Today, we're doing an unscripted conversation on GxP in the age of AI, real-world perspectives from pharma, IT, and manufacturing. The point is not theory or hype, it's execution. What works, what causes friction, and how to stay inspection ready while moving. So, Bob,
Hey, Nick,
I'm glad you made it.
we finally made it.
Really appreciate you joining this particular podcast. Before we start, a couple of housekeeping rules. Disclaimer that whatever we're going to discuss today is between me and Bob, and it's Bob's views. It's not AstraZeneca's views. This show is sponsored by Continuous TV, and you have all the details about the sponsorships and other links that you might need in the details section of this particular LinkedIn Live event. Our goal is to bring candid views on AI in GxP. When I presented this to Bob, the idea of having this LinkedIn Live, that was the idea. We wanted to make it unscripted. We wanted to have a lively discussion so that everybody benefits. We benefit, and all of you will benefit as well. Quickly introducing Bob. Bob has over 3 decades of experience that spans various roles in consulting and Big Pharma. He currently oversees digital quality and strategy at AstraZeneca, and prior to that, he had leadership roles at Amgen. It is very hard to find a quality expert rooted in what I call pragmatic GxP. And top of that, it is hard to find a person whose experience spans control systems, OT, and IT across medtech, biotech, and pharma. Bob, welcome to this LinkedIn Live, and thanks for taking the time from your busy schedule. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Nikesh. It's great to be here. Really happy. Sorry for the technical issues. So I'm doing it on my cell phone right now, so I apologize for that. But yeah, great to be here. This is a great topic. Talking about AI in the pharma industry is something that's really hot these days. I mean, this thing is going to be hotter than data integrity, right? As we talked about over the last 10, 15 years, everything was data integrity. This is going to be a crazy topic. Yeah, just happy to be here. Happy to have some dialogue with you about it, and have some fun conversations. So thanks for having me.
Bob and I always have had many discussions, especially most recently on GxP and AI. Always it ends up being colorful and enjoyable and filled with insights. He's a globetrotter engaging with his colleagues throughout the world. Not only that, he constantly meets with inspectors from various health authorities in the US, EU, China, and many more. So why am I saying all this? It's very important to set the context. So that's the value Bob brings to this conversation. So that's why I'm trying to set the context, since some of you may not know Bob here. So you need to I need to put color on his background so that, you can understand what he brings to the table and the kind of discussions we're going to have today in this particular session. Bob, I'm going to shoot you some questions. This is unscripted, so we never discussed it, so you don't know what I want to ask. So
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a good way to have a conversation, right? Rather than having all these pre-canned questions and pre-canned answers.
Exactly.
You know me, Nikesh. I'll think about it, and we'll get the conversation going. But thanks for bringing up the fact that this isn't AstraZeneca's opinion. These are just my opinions, right? My considerations of things to think about as we have a dialogue. Shoot away. Let's have some fun.
But I'm going to start with a very basic question. Bob, what are your current thoughts on AI in GxP? How do you see this new technology impacting GxP manufacturing?
Yeah. That's a fun one to start with. Nice and simple, right?
Yeah.
So as I was saying it to you before, right? It's like when you think about data integrity and all the charge up and all the commotion around it over the last 10, 15 years, right? This is going to be 100 times bigger than that. We're just hitting the surface, right? There's really no regulations in the pharma industry for AI. There's draft guidance documents. The FDA's put some out. Health China's writing some. The EU's writing some. The MHRA and all these folks are writing guidance documents, but nothing's really out there. And there are ones in other industries and other governments that have things, but this is going to be something, right? And I was talking to somebody yesterday who's been in the pharma industry for I think longer than I've been. I've been in for, like 38 years. And we were talking about AI, and they said, it's nice to see all this technology. And I said, yeah, if you remember back 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, it was always the pharma industry is lagging behind in
Right.
technology, lagging behind in technology. The FDA wants it, but we're lagging behind. Boy, we're not lagging behind anymore. Everywhere you go, it's AI this, AI that. And it's great. I mean, the innovation is fantastic, right? And some of the stuff we just have to be cautious at places of how we're using it, where we're using it. I went in for a medical procedure, and I asked the doctor, so are you going to use any AI on me? Or are you actually doing the procedure yourself? And he stepped back for a second. He said, well, we do have AI tools in here that help people on stuff. I said, yeah, I'm paying you. Can you please do it? So interesting, right?
But on the other hand, you are spearheading many AI initiatives, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, in our ambitions as a company, right? We want to use AI and stuff, and you see it across all pharma, right? I mean, you see it in the medical profession. I mean, you see it in every industry, but you see it in the medical profession of how they're discovering things and discovering, new problems, or they can discover cancer in somebody they didn't know because they have AI that can look and detect things faster and better, looking at data. So amazing what goes on out.
Bob, we pivoted at XLM to developing AI apps 2 years ago. So in order to do that, I personally had to do a lot of research because we had to build products from scratch. We did not use any old code because the frameworks are very different. So we took some ideas and we had to build. So a lot of R&D and this. Why am I saying all this is I spend about a couple of hours every day reading about AI. And in spite of that, it's hard to keep up. Just to your point, the way you're seeing, not just in pharma, everywhere else. It is amazing. Coming back to your point, this is 100x more, 1000x more than what you have seen before, correct? I really believe in that, Bob. I mean, I think it's time to reimagine, not just put a band-aid or let's upgrade our processes a little bit. Little automation here, little automation there. I don't think that will work in the long run. I mean, you have to reimagine. Now is the time to hit the reset button, reimagine everything. It's just not about replacing humans. It's all about reimagining how the processes work with the new digital AI capabilities. In that same context, do you think, based on your current experience and current state of technology, that AI technology is reliable and can be made trustworthy in the GxP context?
Well, you have to imagine that it can, right? So we need to absolutely try, right? We can't just simply say no and hear things from people, right? But we have to grow into it, right? I don't particularly want AI to be releasing the batch for me and no human involved, but AI can do certain things for us, and we learn and we grow. And like you're saying, technology is always changing. I mean, this technology changes so fast, right? And you learn so much from it each and every day that, yeah, it can be a valuable tool to use. And I think in years to come, as we see it, it's going to be all AI. How we do it, how we get there is going to be bumpy for sure, right? It's going
No,
to be
obviously,
painful.
right? Any technology you have that, right? There's always a
Yeah,
kind of a learning, and this is even difficult because we're not just learning because it's changing so fast. I can't even learn.
right,
By the time I
right.
learn, it's old. It's
So,
something new
yep,
that's come up. And it's changing fast, right? It's not like I had to wait a year or two before some new model comes out or new capabilities come out. It's
yeah,
almost on a daily basis. If you
yeah,
don't keep in touch with it for a week, your information is old. The
yeah,
information you have about apps, models, capabilities is old. So I think, to be honest with you, this conversation is important because we can have a lot of fun
yeah,
since you're part of this revolution, right? We are seeing it
yeah,
happen in front of us.
yeah,
Coming back to one point you said, right? China, the health authority in China, EMA has put out Annex 22, and still these are all guidance documents. Probably they're also figuring it out, right? So that puts a little bit pressure on companies that don't want to take the first step, meaning they want FDA to come back and tell you exactly what is acceptable and what not acceptable. Is that a good strategy at all? To completely wait and not do anything about it?
No, actually, I don't think that's a good strategy, right? Get in front of it, right? Be a leader. We're better off as an industry helping to lead than rather waiting for the regulators to tell us what to do, right? and have conversations with regulators and start building things and showing them, because we're all learning together, right? Otherwise, if you're waiting and waiting and waiting, you're not innovating.
No, other thing, Bob, from what I see, because I work with various clients, and various projects, big and small. If you decide to wait, you'll definitely lose. The reason is the technology is not going to stop. It's constantly evolving all the time. It might happen for the next few years, right? Before it really kind of stabilizes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wait, I think, in my opinion, then you're starting by the time your competitors have taken, like people who have implemented AI, they'll be realizing cost efficiencies,
Mm-hmm.
compliance efficiencies, all kinds of efficiencies. Now you are starting. So you may be too late and
Right.
you might be left out of the race. And that's how I see it also. And I read a lot, and that's how some of the leaders are talking about it as well. So coming back to AI, right? The main concern, like you said, I won't trust AI to release a batch, for
It's a
example.
badge.
I won't trust either. So that brings in the human in the loop concept, right? So let's say, for example, it has done some kind of a batch record review or even developed a URS. So it's like my assistant, let's say I am the SME who's supposed to approve those things. And it's like my assistant preparing something, giving it to me. Still, the onus is on me to review it and approve it. If that's the case, the risk should be minimal unless the SME is just signing off without even reviewing it, right? I mean, it can happen even in the paper world.
Yeah, yeah. I think, you use the term human in the loop. I think that's like everybody thinks that's their get out of jail card free, right? And I think it gets really into understanding. Again, this is trying to minimize your risk as you're learning the technology and trying to innovate. Start with small things like you're bringing up. So why not write a user requirement document? Okay, I can do it on my phone right now and say use AZ or ChatGPT and say, create a user requirement for me. It doesn't mean it's right, but it's like,
Correct.
hey, I could have said to you, hey, Nigesh, write me a user requirement document. And you sent it to me. And now I have something tangible that I can review.
Correct.
Okay. But what you also see and hear around is that, well, as long as I say humans in the loop, I can use AI. Well, the more you get into it and the more data you put into it, are you calculating something? Are you putting a million records into a tool and it's giving you an answer? How are you verifying that that data is correct? How, if it's making certain decisions for you, how are you verifying that? So for me, the human in the loop is a funny term. And I think, again, people are using it as like a get out of jail free card, but it's not. And it's really there for things like you're talking about. Yeah, write an SOP for me. I still, as a human, have to review it, read it, and understand it and approve it. URS. So simple things like that. Then you get a little bit more into it. It gets a little bit harder with human in the loop, and that's going to get into all kinds of you're getting into audit trails and reviewing. I agree. We can use technology to develop things like a URS. What's wrong with that, right? And imagining that we have these AI tools, AI agents, whatever we want to call them, to help us on these routine tasks that we're doing, right? That's a great start. That's a great place to start learning and innovating, right? And
Yep.
talk about those things instead of, again, I wanted to do all these different calculations and release the batch for me. Hold on, grow into it. Give
Correct.
yourself time,
I
right?
agree. I agree. But we are also researching on many ways, not just to do like a end user validation, but also look at the model itself. The training data,
Yeah.
the retraining data, and also what happens during inference. So we can build. I'm not saying we can perfectly keep it in a validated state, but we can build some guardrails and some processes to maintain the model correct. How it's supposed to behave, how is it behaving on a continuous basis. So, and also we can have, for example, two LLMs, for example, like the output of one is
Hmm.
validated by the output of the other before even it goes to the human in the loop or the whatever the SME, right? All these are not proven substantially, but
Right.
it will get there. So slowly we will get there so that it has to become deterministic. Right? At least for the enterprise, if it's not deterministic, you cannot really use it.
Right, right, right. And think about everything you're talking about, right? So now, if you're putting that stuff up and you're doing those things and verifying that, how do you explain that to regulators and inspectors? You know, who don't necessarily have the same knowledge, right? Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying, let's stay in the U.S. and the FDA. They certainly have people in the FDA who have backgrounds in data science and AI stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the normal inspectors now you have to go down to that level and start explaining that to them. And these are the things that we have to educate ourselves on, educate them on, right? And learn. That's the number one thing here is learning and teaching and not being the lagger, right? Again, I think as your question before, as an industry, we should be leading and helping and partnering more with the inspectors and trying to help
I agree.
align on some of this stuff. Don't wait for them to say, this is what you do.
100%. That needs a little bit of a different mindset. On the same point, just to keep the same train of thought going here, how are they reacting during inspections, and what kind of questions are you getting from different regulators from different parts of the world?
Yeah, there's a variety of them. Some of them just sitting with a regulator, an inspector, and they just want to have a side discussion with you about AI. I mean, people are really excited and energized about it, and everybody trying to learn from each other. That's what I'm experiencing. I'm sitting in an inspection, and you may get up, and the inspector walks out, you walk out, and all of a sudden we're talking about AI.
Oh.
And are you guys using AI? Well, I can't really tell you inspection unless you ask the question, right? But you know, but you're seeing it more in inspections now that people are starting to ask questions about AI. And what I'm seeing and hearing are really just learning, right? Is they're asking questions about, are you using AI? Do you have procedures that you're using, or is it in your current software validation lifecycle SOPs? What are you doing, right? And I keep seeing that in different inspectors that I've spoken to, that's what they're asking right now. I haven't really been in one where there's really into AI and looking at your large language models and questioning that, but they're just sort of feeling it, right? Putting feelers out as well during inspections, asking, hey, what do you guys do? Are you using AI? Yes or no? How do you validate? What are you in your current process? Do you have a new one? So those are things that they're just asking. And I've asked inspectors, are you asking the same questions to other companies? And they said, yeah, and a lot of them are saying yes, is we're going out and we're gathering intelligence based on what they're doing, right? And then they're going to come back and
Yep, they're gathering intelligence about intelligence.
Right, exactly. So that's why I say this is going to get crazy after a while, because they're gathering intelligence, they're writing guidance documents,
Yep.
and it's 22. It came out, everybody's commenting on it and stuff. So they're gathering stuff, but before you know, it'll be here.
Correct.
There'll be a regulation, and then they're going to hold you to it, and that's where it's going to be the challenge. I think the best is yet to come, right? But
You have to
no, when I
comment.
say best is yet to come, the best is yet to come with innovation, with the technology. It's going to be awesome in years to come. But the best is yet to come on inspections. Now, I say that sarcastically because it's going to take some work for companies to really withstand these inspections,
And
because you get people saying, well, this tool is human in the loop, it's not really GMP. Okay, go prove that.
prove that, yeah.
Go prove
But,
that. Sometimes it's not
but,
that easy.
but what does it take now to be, I mean, based on your experience, quote unquote, inspection readiness looks like before the inspector walks in? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any inspection, right? You want to be inspection ready. You want to have all your ducks in a row, right? Your quality systems, your critical systems are out there. You understand them. You can grab data fast, and you have the right people talking to the inspectors. So it's going to be the same with AI, right? We have to be ready and understand certain things. Start doing interviews with people. If you're using AI, you're using LLMs. How are you controlling these? What version are we even on? I was asked a question. This is a funny one, Nagesh. I was asked a question from a regulator, and they were asking, do you evaluate companies like XLM who provide AI tools to you? Do you evaluate them to see if they use AI to develop their code and to debug their code? I laughed too, just like you're doing. I laughed. I said, me sarcastic. I was telling him, I said, because this wasn't an inspection. This was just, I knew an inspector and we were talking. And I said, how old are you? You 50, 60 years old? And he started to laugh. I said, you got kids in college? Yeah. I said, go ask them that question. Everybody who comes out of school right now has all technology savvy stuff. That's what they do. Of course, companies are using ChatGPT to debug their code, or ChatGPT to write them some code. Of course, they're using it. Why do we care? And he doesn't really know why we care. He was just asking.
Right.
He says, because those questions are being asked, from people in the industry. They're being asked at the agency, when we do supplier assessments of software companies. Are we assessing those things? Should we be? I'm saying no. Don't. As when you're looking at, should I be assessing a software company that, like you guys, are you using AI? No, but there may be other things or other times that we may need to see how the AI module might work, and we need to assess something that's different. But how you develop it, why would anybody care?
I agree, because ultimately we have to deliver what's in the requirements, right? We deliver that.
Yeah. And then we're going to go test it and everything and stuff. But you're gonna get people smarter than me who say, well, you should be testing it, and look at how maybe they're developing their stuff and they're introducing more bias to the tool. Yeah. How do I know that the software company we bought for, I'm just trying to be very generic here, but a software company bought something for limbs, that the limbs company didn't put something in their software that you didn't know about, that says anytime you see this, pass the result? You don't know, and you're not going through every line of code. You don't know.
Bob, even with traditional software, you can do that. Forget
Yeah,
AI.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With traditional software, you can do that. No, we're going to review the code and we're going to look for things. No, you're
No,
not. You
it's
can't.
millions of lines of code. There's no
Right,
way you can.
right, right. Who's like one of those companies has like over a couple million lines of code. Like I'm sure, like in SAP, millions and millions of lines of code. Right? You
Correct.
can't go through all that. So now we take it to AI, but they could be adding bias to it and stuff. And how would you know? I don't know. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But we have to go back to what's reasonable, right? What's reasonable? I used to work with a guy who used to work with the FDA. He helped write the guidance document for software way back when, and I used to work with him about 30 years ago. And he always used that word reasonableness. What's reasonable?
What is this?
What is reasonable? And we would laugh, and I'd say, do you, is the sun going to go out tomorrow? Should we test for that? And he would say, do you think it's reasonable that the sun is going to go out tomorrow? Right. Because you keep going further and further back. When do you stop testing? When do you stop with the controls? What's reasonable? What makes sense? That's what we're trying to do.
Oh, I agree. That's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a
It's
challenge.
always a challenge.
Do
Always a challenge.
you see, because you are working with many agencies right across the globe, do you see the attitude in the US versus attitude in Europe and China? Are there any differences?
Well, I don't think there's fundamental differences. I think you see all the excitement and energy around using the tools, right? As always, folks in quality may be a little less energetic, right? Because they want controls. But when I travel around the world, Europe, China, Japan, U.S., you see all the excitement and stuff and what people want to use. I think in some countries, people may be a little bit more aggressive and they're going to use it a little bit more and take the risk more than others. But yeah, there's a great enthusiasm, which is awesome. Let's bring technology to the table and use it to help. In the end, it should be there to help us to deliver a product to patients more effectively, safer, get them there on time, right? So we should be doing it.
Yep. I'm going to change the topic a little bit, Bob. For example, I just want to take a very specific example. That way, the audience can also benefit. So, XLM has developed agentic apps to generate URS, test scripts, trace matrices, execute the test scripts also autonomously. And you're seeing that. Of course, the actual review and approval still happens, meaning the URS has to get reviewed. They can change it also. We have more audit trails now. For example, our platform tracks agents thinking, like every step it's taking. What is the thought process? It's logged. It's a detailed log of its thinking process. And it also produces executed protocols with screenshots, with timestamps, the
Yep.
data entered, everything it produces. And
Yep.
it can handle desktop, browser, mobile app. So
Right.
we are seeing a timeline compression of 10x, meaning we can do it 10x or more faster.
Yeah,
Because
that's good.
it's in most cases, sometimes maybe a half an hour or 45 minutes for a particular
Yep.
task. So ROI typically is less than 3 months, worst case 6 months. This is just an example. Right? So we can achieve this very simple. It sounds simple, but it has got many components to it, especially on the execution side. It's a little bit challenging. To repeatedly prove that it can work. So what we have done is we have also developed evals within our company. So the models keep changing, our software keeps changing, but our evals we are standardized like benchmarks. So we use that on every release, so that we know if there's a drift or if it's performing better, worse. Then we can compare. Right, the previous version did this, previous model did this. So we are doing that also. What I'm trying to get at is, we are doing more with audit trails, the data we are collecting, even the video recording. Like when the bot executes the test case, we have a video recording. If somebody doesn't trust it, they can see it. So in fact, it's very hard to fudge now because we have so much data that we're collecting. If I apply this to other processes, that similar things can be done in other processes. I mean, don't you think, eventually this will be rock solid and faster, more compliant and consistent as well? And I think that's my opinion because we are building it as we speak, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's back to reimagine, right? And it is. It will be faster, right? More compliant. I'm sure it'll be more accurate for sure. And I hesitate on that because, like you're talking about, you're recording everything. And then it becomes overwhelming, right? You got all this auto stuff. Well, what's important? You have all this. Can I find something that's important in this? So now we have to think about how to filter out data as well. So you're looking at the right things. You're not just looking at logs of everything, right? But that's what some of these tools have the ability to do, everything. And then you're overwhelmed again with stuff.
Yeah.
So we have to
So
be
the
cautious with
reason
that.
we are doing it is, we are dealing with all types of customers, right? Not everybody is practical, so they will ask.
Right.
So we said, okay, that's also collected. If you want, here you go. You have it,
Yep.
So you don't have
Yep.
to look at it because we give you the artifacts the way it is. But if somebody
Yep.
asks for a video recording or if they want it for every execution, we can do that.
Yep.
Since we deal with a broad spectrum of customers, I need
Yep.
to go with the lowest common denominator
Right.
and we'll keep that ready.
Right. I'm not leaving you. I'm just getting my phone charger because I was going to do this on the computer and then I had a technical issue. So I'm on my personal phone.
No
and
problem.
I just want to make sure I have my charger.
Yeah, we're not going to let you run away now. So
Yeah. Not now.
as you're doing that, right, I'm going to ask you I'm going to give you another example.
Yep.
Temperature mapping, which is very mundane and, repetitive. It's not that exciting. So we have brought this technology to us where we can ship the loggers to AZ, for example. And once the protocol is all set, you can place it. It can communicate over cell phone networks or Wi-Fi or your intranet. And that's it. Data comes in. We'll accumulate the data. We will document the data. We'll back up the data. Any transformations happen on the fly, meaning all this is validated. The platform is validated. And you can log in as a customer and design your own dashboard. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter dashboards. So you can design your own dashboards and also chat with data. Like you can say, hey, give me the temperature, lowest temperature on this day, do this, like a chat GPT kind of an interface, and also do the graphs. So if you want to plot something in particular that's not shown on the dashboard, you can do that. Also on the fly, it writes Python code, it generates a graph for you. All that is validated, but this thing is such a mundane thing. But now we are making it very easy with the whole process.
Right.
You can have 100 sensors, you can have 1,000 sensors. It doesn't matter to me. We can handle it in terms of scale.
But how cool is that, right? How cool is that? You have all that stuff at your fingertips, right? You have all that at your fingertips. You can do and analyze. And now you're analyzing data more effectively, faster, better. Where now you start using your brain to look at the results and say, okay, what kind of decisions can we make off of this stuff that we couldn't do this before? We're going to see things that we've never seen before.
I agree with you. 100%.
Much better analysis and stuff. So yeah, it's all cool stuff, right? Love it.
You and I worked on a small project, right? Where Annex 22 has come out, right? So we could take that regulation. We can potentially go through your 10,000 plus SOPs that your company might have, identify a subset of them automatically, and and make the changes per the new regulation and present it to you. You SME can go document by document, accept it, reject it, whatever. But for a human to do that, the same task, it'll take months probably. Right?
Yeah. Well, think about it, right? A lot of companies do these gap assessments. So, hey, you got Annex 22 came out. Go do a gap assessment to see where the gaps are and how we're aligning. And for big companies, it becomes lots of work, right?
Lots of work.
It might not just be one SOP. It might be multiple SOPs, right? And when you're using tools like you guys provided, XLM, right, it makes it easier and faster to do it, where now you can go in and look at and really start to work on closing the gaps faster than working on the gap assessment itself, right? We spend so much time doing the gap assessment, and then oh, we're tired, and then my cap is going to be 9 months open until I fix it, Well, if you can do the gap assessment in 10 minutes, you can start on your CAPAs the same day.
I agree.
And start fixing stuff. So that's the beauty of some of these tools, and the tools you guys are providing is really cool.
Yeah, a similar thing that you and I also worked on, like where we are doing a lot of POCs for you, right? Because we are also, both of us are looking at various processes and see how we can leverage this technology. For example, you can take a URS and do a risk assessment, a draft risk assessment, the FEMA analysis. Even it could have 1,000 requirements. You can generate that within half an hour to an hour probably. But that's a draft one. I'm not saying that's going to be perfect, but it's a good baseline for some engineer, an SME to take it, or a group of people to take it, review it, go line by line. But it's still faster and maybe in a way it's accurate because it's not going to leave anything, hopefully. But this can be done very fast. So we can come to a conclusion faster because we're not starting from scratch, going item by item, trying to do all that, right? But these are some examples I'm throwing out here because that way the audience can understand what are the possibilities. And all this has been tested or built, already working, deployed.
Yeah. The funny thing is that it's endless possibilities.
Endless
Right?
possibility.
It's endless possibilities. If you're willing to push and you, like you said, reimagine, then we as an industry can do great things, right? Everything. But we have to be open to change. We have to want to change, right? And it's going to be very bumpy, right? And we can't just keep referring back to the old ways of doing things, right? We have to keep driving, and the whole industry as a whole will get better at doing this.
I think so. And on the same, just moving on to a different level here. So I did some research and wrote some articles on how this can be achieved. If I were a company CEO, right?
Yeah.
And how will I get this done? Big pharma, I'm talking about, right? How will I get this done? Or even small pharma for that matter. So, in my opinion, it has to come top down. The leadership has to set the tone, saying that the next 5 years, based on the information we have, this is what our roadmap is. It can change. See,
Hmm?
technology changes, but at least they should have a vision and
Yeah.
committed resources to achieve that. It should not be driven by IT. It should not be driven by quality. It should be driven by the CEO's office, right? So that way, it gets more meaningful for the employees to work on. What do you think?
Well, like on any project, right? Any big initiative, right? It's got to be driven from the top. They support all this, right? It shouldn't be, my idea that says we should do all these things. We need millions and millions of dollars. We need the whole company to do it one way. But these big things like this, yeah, it starts from the top. If the top's supporting it all and the executives are driving it, they want it. Yeah, then it becomes much more support, better investment, we can do great things. And I think you see a lot of that, though. You see a lot of that. I see it anyway. That there's a lot of support in the industry from the leaders of their companies. That's there. And then it goes down to the next level and it cascades effectively that way. One of the things, though, like you're saying, who really owns and drives this stuff, and it's hard. There's a battle, right? A lot of times on, because it's software and it's AI, the mindset is it's IT. You own
IT.
everything, and you go back to, well, IT owns a lot of the infrastructure stuff. This is my opinion, right? The infrastructure stuff on things, but the best, the way I see it is the best ways of looking at things is you get people who have technology backgrounds, right? We have people coming out of school with technology backgrounds that could be a biologist as well. Those people have the capability of doing things. We don't need to invest in a big project of, 20 IT people and 3 business people and just keep throwing things back and forth over the fence. Why don't folks like in manufacturing and quality have groups of people that can do things? So it's almost like a distributed IT organization, or the phrase that I really don't care for, but I'll use it: citizen developers, right?
Yeah,
And stuff, and what
it's
you're having,
happening.
right? It's happening. But these things are great concepts, but it's all about how you implement it and how you control it, right? Because it can run wild and go in the wrong direction and you can fail. But if
Yeah.
you put some basic controls in and teach people where it's not just, hey, business, you got a requirement, write it down, send it over the fence, and let IT develop it for you. Then come back and do a test, see if it works. Why? Why do we have to do things like that? Why can't I write my requirements and go develop my AI tool and validate it my own way? Why do I need 80 people to help me with this? Maybe you don't.
Bob, actually, there is a new term called, before they would call in the software world, full stack developer,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that term is gone now. They call everybody full stack builder,
Of
meaning
course, every
you're
year it
not a
changes.
developer anymore. Anybody can build. I mean,
Yep.
that's the technology today, and you can really build. I have a lot of examples like that. Recently, I was listening to a product manager at Meta, and he was on a podcast. So he doesn't know coding. He's a product manager. He doesn't know
Hmm.
coding at all,
Hmm.
but he's building software outside of Meta and
Yeah.
he's making money from it. And he talked about his process of building software. He's better than most developers I've seen. I mean, he's that methodical and he has his own tool set and he uses many tools just to do the code review, fix the code, but he doesn't know coding. So, like you said, the citizen developer concept is coming.
It's coming. I'll talk a little bit about my team just very briefly, but we have some great people on my team. Fantastic, right? We have one guy on our team who's a data scientist. He does coding, okay? And then we have other folks on the team who are experts in a business processes, like in quality, in QC and stuff. And collectively, they can build tremendous stuff. And then we partner with an IT organization to help scale it up,
Yep.
right? And you when you look at these guys and gals, they're on my team. tremendous, right? One guy codes, but the way they interact and the way they help each other and build something, and it's a lower cost because we're not having to go around to IT and go to other departments and build stuff like that. It's amazing what these folks can do, and so my point is they don't all code and develop, but they collectively build a product together, and it's amazing the work that they can do. So I just wanted to toot their horn a little bit because it's I like that approach, right? You
Yep.
bring in a good data scientist who didn't even understand the pharma business, right? Working with people who really get the pharma business, who worked in the lab and worked in manufacturing, and collectively they work together to build something. And they deliver solid products for us. So it's like your point about the meta guy, you don't all have to code. You can still deliver some great things.
Yeah. And he's making money
Yeah.
outside of Meta.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's so passionate about it, and
Yeah.
I listened to the whole podcast. It's very good. I recently wrote an article in Fast Company. I shared with you also. This is like what I define as the frontier validation organization, right? Where an army of agents can execute tasks and that fit under a supervision of a boss agent or agent boss, right?
Yeah.
And that can work 24/7, can do a lot of work and present it to the humans involved so that they can make the decision. Ultimate decisions are still left
So,
in the thing. But do you think that is too far-fetched for now?
no, again, somebody's got to keep pushing the envelope, right? Keep pushing it and keep pushing it. It's not far fetched. Eventually, these things will happen, right? Again, it's going to be bumpy because the technology is out there, which is great technology, right? But the industry's, we have our regulations and we're trying to marry the two, and it's very hard because all the new ideas start coming in, all the stuff starts coming our way, and companies like XLM and yourself, then I guess you guys have all these ideas and want to do stuff. You got to keep pushing it, but the industry is still lagging a little bit behind. We want the innovation, but we haven't adapted to how do we validate it? What do we do, right? And we can't take everything all at once. We have to be methodical to it. And now we sort of had, not really regulations and inspections on it, but now they're going to start up. We're going to start to see more and more of it, and that might throttle us back a little bit. So it's going to be turbulent, but keep pushing the envelope for sure. And we'll get there. We'll get there.
Do you see this happening at different layers, meaning not just IT, but going into labs, QA, or going into manufacturing, OT?
Why
At
not?
all levels?
Why not?
The reason I ask is, because you manage a diverse group of manufacturing facilities. AZ has many manufacturing facilities all over the world in different jurisdictions, and you get a better picture of the entire forest because you're just not limited to one facility or just the US for that matter. So I think, because I would like to see this not just in IT, it can come down to, manufacturing always lags. They don't have a good technology. OT is a little bit ahead maybe, but they also don't have like super technology. Then IT always gets all the best tools and they can make it happen. But I would like to see that change. Like, for example, you collect a lot of data in your historians. How are you using it? How are you predicting anomalies? What are you doing? And I've seen plants where there are 500 screens on a SCADA system for one line, which is a complex line.
Yeah.
But to train people and even to change screens and go, it's not fun, to do it. But you can make it a little bit easier by providing some other interface where they can query, or in English they can ask certain questions, you get the response back, or some other technology, like maybe even glasses. Let's say, for example, I am looking at some machine, and I'm wearing these smart glasses. Even if the technician is not there, he can possibly see what I'm seeing, and they can collaborate right in real time, even though they're not there. These are simple things, but that can save thousands of hours. In a single facility or a period of time.
Yeah, but you get like me, a wise question. So you have this AI tool in front of you, and you're asking it a question. Do you control the version of that? How would you control the version of that question, right? Because you got that answer. You keep it in audit trail. Do I get the same answer? Because it's like we have an SOP that we're following, and we control the version of the SOP. We manage it effectively, and now all of a sudden, what we're saying is, and I think this is going to happen over time, is we're going to get away from SOPs, and we're going to be asking the AI tools to tell us what to do.
Bob, I have a question for you. Is it okay? The audience has a question for you.
Yeah. Be great.
how intellectual property can be protected when using AI, even in a GxP environment, without having an in-house AI platform. I think they're asking about an LLM. LLM is not in-house. It could be OpenAI or it could be Claude, for example. How would you protect the intellectual property?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. That's a great question, right? Because you start to put more and more out there and going outside of your firewalls and stuff. That intellectual property, man, security is everything. Now you're into all kinds of cybersecurity issues and stuff. You're putting that stuff out there. You better make sure those people are locked down.
Yes.
That is
That
a
is a
really
little
tough
hard
question.
because the big guys of OpenAI, we don't control them in any way.
We don't control them, right?
Yeah, but they will tell you that they're not going to use it for training or anything like that. But we don't control. It's a black box, right, for us.
You have no idea.
Yeah. So in that case, we are also in the same boat. So we are building localized LLMs. That way we
Yep.
control the
Right.
boundary. So that's
Yep.
only way I can think of by having the localized LLM. So at least you can control the updates, you can control the data flow, and you know
Yeah.
that it's within the box that you've created. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
impossible. And it can
It's
be done even
impossible.
on a PC. It can be done even on a
Right.
PC, depending on the LLM, on a phone for that
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
that's the
mean,
only way I
that's it.
think, right?
Yeah, that's it. We have things internally at AstraZeneca, same thing, that it's local to us. It's not
Yep.
open to the public and stuff like that. And that's how you have to be. The minute you go outside and you put it on areas, you have no control over it.
No control over it.
You can sign any agreement you want with these companies. Still have no control over it.
No control.
Right?
Yep.
So,
If you put nagesh.nama at valuation.com, you will see that in the dark web. I get a lot of these, I have these
yeah.
programs monitoring
Yeah.
my thing. It's all over the place. The reason is the email has been in place for 25 years,
Right. Right.
So there's no way I can control. Impossible. I can take
Yep.
all the safeguards, but still can't control. One more question for you. How do you address
Yeah.
the data privacy concerns from compliance and legal departments? I think the same thing, right?
Same.
Data privacy. Yeah.
Same. Yeah, same. And data privacy becomes big, right? So, for different parts around the world have all different data privacy regulations and
Yep.
stuff that you have to meet, so yeah, that's a big challenge again, but back to your point about localizing it and stuff like that. And there are great, I mean, we're a global company, so we have software spread out around the world, and stuff. And we work with great companies like yourselves at XLN. And that's all part of the process of how are we setting this up, right? Can you share data in this country versus that country? And then you get these local farms that I think they call them, right? That they have these server farms in this area,
Yep.
and only data for that is there for that
Right.
region. That's all you can do. So yeah, it takes some thought, and that's really the true value of the IT organization, to help architect that, help
Correct.
design that, working with those other companies. That's the value. Yeah. But it comes up a lot, especially on a global company. We see that a lot.
One more question for you, Bob. What kind of questions have you seen regulatory authorities throw at the GxP auditee regarding putting safeguards in place to avoid automation biases in your experience? I think you briefly discussed it before, but it's maybe a little bit more specific to automation biases.
Yeah. So it's always interesting talking about the bias, right? That we're so fixed on bias now, but when the humans are doing it, nobody's bias, right?
Bias.
Nobody mentioned that word, bias, when people are doing things. Like Nagesh, you review something differently than I review it, but nobody said there's a bias there.
Me reviewing it at a different point in time,
Right.
you get a different answer from me.
Yeah. So this can get into some long-winded answers, but it's a really good point question here, because this gets back to when we're talking about bias. When we're using AI, the expectation is everything's perfect, right? The accuracy is 100%.
That's not necessary.
It's
No,
not. But you're looking at better improvement than a human, right? So sometimes we say, well, it's providing it about 80% accurate all the time. Okay, well, what was the human doing?
We don't know.
60%? Or yeah, we don't know, or 60% or 50%. Okay, so it's doing better, so it's okay. But this bias thing is really interesting, right? You all you can do is set targets, right? You set some targets, and to your earlier point, you're comparing it from one LM to another, seeing if
You're minimizing it still. You're not eliminating
minimizing it. You're never eliminating it. You're trying to minimize it, and then what we should be doing is looking at, again. You're looking at setting like a metric, saying, hey, we want the bias. I'm just going to use a number. We want it to be 80% non-bias, let's say, and we're using that comparison between LLMs and stuff like that. Well, who's reviewing that? And you should be reviewing that on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And what happens when we dip below it? What do we do? right? So
Right.
these are all things that we're, again, back to, we're learning. The analogy always goes back to, we're changing the engine on the plane while it's flying.
Flying.
So don't be afraid of AI and these questions. It's just start small, right? Do proof of concepts, do work on small, low risk GMP things for AI and build into it. And you'll start to ask these questions and start to build processes to do these things. And that's where we keep the innovation going. We keep chugging along because we're seeing things like that, right? How do I know it's not biased? Well, we run a report on this tool once a month, and we set a standard, and we're looking at it. We set an accuracy, right? Something like that, whatever it might be, and we go back and we look at these things, and that's helping us.
These are all
It's
good
not
points.
easy though. It
It's
ain't
not
easy.
easy. No, but that happens when we did the transition from paper-based to PLCs and HMI, SCADA,
Yeah,
MES. I mean, we all maybe the scale may be different now, but we encountered that, right? When we did that also. But
right,
we'll figure it out.
right.
It's a question of
I,
time. We will definitely
I
figure it out.
I just love the bias of that word again too. All these new words that come out. Human in the loop, bias. So it used to be, instead of human in the loop, it was you review it, you approve it. But now it's
Yeah,
human in the loop.
the loop. And even the word
Right,
human is used very often now,
right. Yeah.
right?
Now we're going to technology. We're using the word human, right? Instead of calling you a reviewer and approver, you're the loop,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you get bias. Well, why are you worrying about bias? Because it used to be just shopping around for answers. No, you go to this one quality person, they sign it, and you go to that quality person, they have 10 questions for you, right?
In my opinion, this will be better. Even if I hallucinate a little bit, but it'll be better.
It'll be better. It'll be better, right? Right. It's taking all those people and bringing them into one and saying, this is your answer. But yeah, these are all the challenges that come up and stuff. And again, when I happen to run into an investigator, a regulatory inspector, these are things that come up. You talk to them and they're asking questions, about the same thing. How do you verify the bias, stuff like that? I mean, verify the bias, right? It's like nobody else, everybody's learning, and stuff. Unless, yeah, like we have an expert on our team, right? Data science. This guy's fantastic, right? He knows this stuff, and other data scientists and people who do this, they know these things. But everybody in the industry is trying to get familiar with the code, the vernacular, right?
Correct.
Bias,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
All this stuff. How do you train models and train the data and stuff? So everybody's trying to learn and trying to become, savvy at it, and it's hard. And my stay in your lane, right? I don't go into the lab and tell them how to test the product. I don't know the chemistry behind it. That's not my
Correct.
background. Just stay in your lane and learn what you need to learn, right? Learn how to use the tools. Learn how to analyze data, because the tools are going to give you stuff. Learn how to analyze it better and more effectively. So
I agree with you. They're good points, I think. One more question for you, Bob. How to tie multiple external tools applications that are department focused, regulatory cleanups, clinical operations, biometrics, when a small company does not have an in-house AI tool?
get an AI tool. Get an AI tool. And partner with companies like you guys, and I guess, right, like Excel, partner with companies like that to help, right? And these things matter, right? Get people who've been through these things before, not just any companies who've been through it before. And it's hard. It's not so much all the big ones all the time, right?
Correct. Correct. Let's see here. Do you see industry experts partnering to develop new technologies since waiting for regulatory guidance or on implementation and controls is not optimal? Meaning, do organizations like AZ partnering with maybe other pharma companies, other industry experts in coming up with a kind of a global solution before even the guidances are released?
So I think there's a lot of sharing that has always gone on in the industry, right? Through different organizations like PDA or other organizations, and folks know each other because they change jobs in different
Yep.
companies. They know each other, and people reach out. There's industry groups on just about everything, and they share ideas. There's the Midwest discussion group and things like that. And people share ideas and thoughts. I think, why not just sit down, company A and company B, sit down and guys go through things together. But it's hard because you get a lot of legal things that can involve
Correct. The main legal thing
proprietary
is
stuff.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we were having a discussion once with a company about why can't everybody put in all of their, let's just say, deviations into one global database, right? Somebody maintains, like XLM, you guys maintain this database, but every pharma company puts all their deviations in. Could that help us? Could we see things, right? And if you took that data and you tied it to FDA 483s, could you see something, right? But we don't see that because it gets into all kinds of legal aspects about sharing data and seeing other things. But if we could, that'd be great. But yeah, I would love to work with other companies and help out on things. I try all the time. I use, as a reference for companies like yourself, and then try to talk to people about, here's some ideas, here's some things, not giving away everything, but just giving you insights to what we may have done, on a particular piece of software that the other company might be buying, you know? Hey, these are things that we did. Here are things that we had pitfalls with, right? So we share those ideas with anybody. But it'd be cool if we could build stuff together. That'd be really cool.
Bob, I
I
wrote
think
an
in the
article.
future, it'll happen.
Yeah, I think so. I'll give you an example. I was surprised. I wrote an article 2 weeks ago, I think, where Eli Lilly is taken $1 billion worth of research data that they have learned more
Mhm.
not from the successes, but mostly about the failures in clinical trials. And
Yeah.
they created an LLM, right? Meaning
Yep.
an intelligent system, and they're giving it away free to startups, biotech
Yeah.
companies. The way they work with NVIDIA so that
Yep.
the data privacy is protected. Like if I'm a biotech company, I can use it without paying Lilly anything. But
Right.
they're making the model better. So Lilly will get that in the end. Let's say 1,000 companies use it. The model is getting better. But the data privacy, I believe the data privacy is there. But this is a very unique that Lilly has done. It's a leadership thing. They invested money in it, but they will benefit also. It's not short term; it's a long term investment
Yeah.
that they have
Yeah.
made. But I wrote about it, and I think it's a really a good venture that Lilly took the leadership to do it. But those things are happening.
Yeah. 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 Things are going to happen like that. It's already there. I mean, when you look at certain things like a document management system, I won't name companies and stuff, but most pharma companies use the same document management tool
Yep,
platform.
yep.
It's the
Master
same.
control, Viva, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah. That's it, you know? So now as we get into these AI solutions and stuff, a lot of it's going to be the same, right? But I'll tell you one thing that's really going to make this industry turbulent with AI is all these software companies. So you're buying like a LIMS system or document
Yep.
management system. They want their AI solutions inside their tools. And so all of a sudden you could have a suite of 10 apps that have 10 different AI tools that are on 10 different LLMs giving you all kinds of information. That's going to be crazy, right? Crazy.
Some of it we can control, some of it we cannot control. Bob, thank you. This is extremely actionable. People care. If people can take one thing from today, you can move fast in the GxP with AI, but you gave them the good perspectives and some clarity on the intended use and how to proceed, right? Considering that, we are in a highly controlled, regulated industry. So I would like you to say some closing thoughts, before we can call it a day.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks again, Nagesh, for having me. This was great. I appreciate it. Hopefully everybody enjoyed listening, right? I think the main thing is like you're saying, right? Reimagine. Don't be afraid to innovate, right? It's going to be bumpy, but work your way through things. Take it slow, right? Don't do the high risk things first. Stay on the low risk, learn it, and move on.
To all of you out there, I don't think we could answer all the questions. Please, drop your questions in the comments box, and we will get back to you. We will respond to your comments. Bob,
Yeah.
thank you again. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you again.
Right. Thanks, Nagesh. Talk soon.